yeah, I was so disappointed. I remember that time because my bankroll also at that time was probably 5 or 10k euro in total. That was my net worth. So I was playing for 10x. It was a 100k contract. So disappointed. I remember I cried. I cried in that show 10 years ago. And I was, I thought this time I wanted to enjoy the maximum. I wanted to be there, present, and to be living it, to live the moment and not thinking too much about the future.
Welcome, everybody, to DAT Poker Podcast / Game of Gold Recap Podcast. This is episode 5 recap, new week, new format. Lots to get into with all the changes now that Daniel and team clubs have been eliminated and sent home on the long flight home from Korea. We're down to just 12 remaining players of the starting 16. We start episode 5 with Ali Nejad giving the rundown of what happens next. And it's a really cool format. The players are excited about it. The first thing we see is Ali say, okay, Spades, all the Spades team members are now captains for 4 3-man teams of the 12 remaining players. So now, the highest coin total is Yoh ViraL, and he can pick anyone he wants, except obviously a fellow Spade team member. So it's a bit of the schoolyard thing we'll get into in a minute. Snake draft. Yoh ViraL sitting on 100 coins after the first round, and his first pick is Federer Holtz. He has a total brain fart. He tries to pick Federer.
In fairness.
Good pick, to be fair.
I mean, why not? You pick Federer, but it's funny. He tries to play it off. He's like, oh, just kidding. But he really kind of forgot that Federer was on his team or something, or didn't pay attention. I'm not sure. So that was pretty amusing. Before we get into, and then he picks Jungle first overall, which seems to make sense, and we'll get into that. But before we get into picks, let's look at the format for round 2. Again, it's 4 teams of 3 in a King of the Hill style heads-up battle, starting 100 big blinds deep. The top dog from the previous round, Yoh ViraL, also gets the benefit of which team he wants to face in the first heat of the round. So after the teams are picked, he gets to look around and pick which team he wants his team of 3 to go up against in round 1. Essentially looking to pick, obviously, the weakest team from the 3 teams. And then they will face off in a round, and the other 2 teams will face off in another round. And this kind of, it's funny, we're all hockey fans, and this has been thrown about a little bit as far as a playoff format. I think it might have even been tried in lower leagues, where they said, okay, the first overall team from the regular season gets to pick their round 1 playoff opponent. And I thought this was a pretty cool way to go about setting this up. And I'm wondering, when I saw it, I went, Daniel, obviously big hockey fan too. Was this a suggestion, Daniel, from you? We'll just quickly touch on that maybe.
Oh, yeah. So I was going to interject too, because you said something that makes sense, right? Which is that you go after the weakest team to give yourself the best chance. If you watched a show called Physical 100, which is another Korean reality show on Netflix, which is in a similar vein, it's similar. It's a game show type format where you pick your opponent. Korean culture is very different, though. Rather than pick on the weakest link, they want to be honorable. I must challenge the biggest, toughest, strongest man, which gives me the lower chance to win, right? But obviously, poker players are too smart for that. So you look around the room, as you said, if you're Yoh ViraL, and I love the whole vibe, right? It creates a little bit more drama in there. We'll get to it, of course, with the schoolyard thing, which you mentioned, which is like kind of back in grade school, right? Where it's like, fuck you guys. You picked me last? Oh, yeah, let's go. So yeah. I love it. I again, the whole idea behind the show was a slant of reality TV and poker. And one way to do that is to force players to say, okay, well, I'm going to tell you essentially who I think sucks and who I think is good right here and right now.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great wrinkle to it. I loved it. Okay, so within the team matches now, the individual matches, it gets interesting, right? Your team... Now, it's King of the Hill, as mentioned. So the player who goes first and the winner of each match gets 30 coins to add to their personal total. So in the King of the Hill format, if the player wins his first match, he gets 30 coins and he gets to play the second person from the other team. If he wins that match, he gets another 30 coins, or he or she, I should say. And if he wins he or she wins the third match, he can rack up 90 coins individually in this format. So that goes to, we'll talk about who we would want, how we would approach this as far as who we would pick if we were doing this. But this format gets pretty interesting as far as now negotiating with your teammates who's going to play first, who's going to play second, and who's going to play third. Is it simply the best player of the three should play first? Guys, what do you think? Terrence, why don't you go first?
It's so straightforward that you want to be the first person, regardless. Okay, even if you're not the strongest person on your team, you want to go first because, like you say, you want that chance to just go win, win, win. I get 90, y'all get dick, and we move on anyway. And so if I'm the weakest player and I've got two studs behind me, I still want to go first because if I win, great. I get coins and we, advance to the next round. If I don't win, I got the studs backing me up. I'm not going to be knocked out of the tournament, but I gave myself an opportunity. It's so clearly, straightforwardly advantageous to go first that I can't see any argument for agreeing to go second or third other than this sort of team dynamic of not wanting to piss off your teammates. And I wanted to say that it's a shame that, we talked about how unfortunate it is that Daniel and Jay Kuhn aren't in this thing anymore because they're some of the big draws. It's really unfortunate that Kevin Martin is not here because since Kevin Martin is a guy that would have realized this, I would like the alternate reality where Kevin Martin is a captain of his team and he's got Jungle and Fedor on his team. And Kevin Martin stands up and says, no, I think I should go first, guys. Like, knowing that he's not the strongest player. But I think it's so straightforward that you want to be first. You want to draft the strongest team possible. And you want to go first, somehow convince them by hook or by crook. And Yoh ViraL, we're going to talk about this, but does a great job of convincing his team or bullying his team. Or I don't even know what the choice. I don't know if you know this, Daniel, whether the captain gets the final say. Let's say they never reached a consensus. Does Yoh ViraL get to go, well, I'm the captain now, so I'm going to put myself in the one slot and Jungle in the two and kind of in the three or whatever it is. Because it's a big advantage to go first. It's complete free roll as far as I can tell.
Yeah, and you see the one person pushing hardest to not be third is Kaina, right? Because she sort of understands this dynamic. And you're right. So it's a given, right? You want to go first because it gives you the opportunity to sweep, right? Question is, so let's say from a team survival perspective, like which is the best person to put in the anchor? Probably your best player to save your bacon, right? But they don't want to do that. Now I'm going to ask you this, Terrence and Adam, like imagine it was the three of us, me, you, and Adam, and we're in this spot. I say I want to go first. Terrence says, I want to go first. Adam, I want to go first. So how do we do that? Like, because essentially, if you don't do it, right? I believe the system was, according to when I spoke with Yoh ViraL, is you get there's a shot clock and then it's just a randomly chosen order.
Ooh,
yeah. So what would you like? How would you fight? Because if I was with you two guys, I would make the case like let me go in there and wipe them out. I'm the team captain, the whole deal, whatever, and then like.
And we would say, screw you. Like, we know you're looking out for yourself.
Well, I think I'd make the kind of argument. I'd make the argument kind of made. You don't want me going last with everything on the line, right? Like, if you guys are, the best player, or Daniel, you're the best no limit player, heads up amongst the three of us, I'm going to go, well, you should go last because you're our anchor. You're our fail-safe. You're the guy that's going to save the day for us if I fuck up. I'm kind of on a free roll. If I go first, if I don't win, oh, well, I got two heavy hitters coming in second and third to back cleanup.
Yeah, it's so it's like you create this environment where everyone has the identical incentive. All of us want to go first, right? So why is that important? Why is that cool for reality TV? Because it forces us to fight, right? Yeah. And that's what you want to see. You're like, screw you, I'm going first. No, I'll go first. And then you see some people being nice, trying to be, arbitrage and trying to be fair or measured or whatever. But ultimately, like, it really reveals character too, right? Like, how quote unquote selfish are you? So for, when you explain the format, obviously there's, the first round where you play against a team. If you win, you play the other one, right? So there's going to be two spots to do this, right? Imagine you say, no, I go first in both, right? Like that says something about like, okay, A, you understand the format. B, let's see how good your negotiating skills. Also, one of the things I thought was interesting that I heard on Matt Berkey and those guys were talking about the show. Interesting thought, like, once you know the format, are you better off choosing people that won't fight you on this, that are more likely to be like, nah, you go ahead, Terrence. Like maybe someone like Nikita or Maria would defer to you more rather than someone like David Williams or Kevin Martin.
That's maybe what Nikita did, because we're going to go into the picks, and Nikita makes some surprising picks, and she ends up putting herself first. And you see the team dynamic in that room with Nikita, Olga, and Lucas, and they're just all friends. They're like, how do we maximize the team's EV? They don't, and they would just end up being Nikita goes first. Now, did Nikita just do that because she goes in and she says, "Oh, I'm a heads up specialist. I love playing heads up," and the other two are more than happy to defer to her. Olga says, "Oh, actually, I finished second in everything," and Lucas is like, "Oh, you're heads up." Like Nikita ends up drafting on paper the weakest team, but gets to go first. Maybe that's actually just worth more than studs.
But again, I don't even know if they knew. Like, I also wonder too, like with Fedor's choice of Maria second. Maria is an accomplished player, but there's obviously a long list of good players. How much of that was him sort of banking on their friendship, and him like knowing that she'd understand the pecking order, that he's the main guy, right? So like that's something when I originally watched the show, I didn't think about.
Josh knows he's not like as accomplished at No Limit as Fedor. Josh is not going to be the guy who says, no, put me in the front of the line. Yeah.
That would, like, my first thought, obviously, was just pick the best player all the way through. But there may have been something to the idea of like, do you really want to fight somebody who you don't get along with, is very selfish, is stubborn, and like is going to fight like cats and dogs to push you to third and not get to play?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get into how the picks went and what we think we would have done in that situation. As mentioned, Jungle gets picked by Yoh ViraL first. Second, Fedor takes Maria Ho. Charlie Carroll then picks Andy Stacks. Nikita gets 2 picks because she's last and first in the next round. So she picks, as mentioned, Robin Poker and Olga. And Charlie's like, okay, I'll take David Williams if no problem. And Fedor's like, perfect, I get Josh. And that leaves Yoh ViraL with Kaina. And yeah, I think originally when Nikita picked those two, I was just like, what the hell just happened? She didn't take David or Josh in this spot. She takes Robin, who admittedly hasn't played a ton of poker in his life. Olga, I get. I mean, she played quite well. But picking Robin just seemed crazy. And then after you digested all the things you guys said, okay, well, if David Williams, remember in the first round, is like, I'm going last. I am going last, right? He's a very strong personality. If Nikita picks David, David's going to go, I'm going first. I'm going first. And Nikita, you can tell, probably knows that. And she's going to pick accordingly, which I thought was pretty cool. But kind of that emotional schoolyard vibe with Kaina. She gets picked last. She doesn't seem happy about it, which she's a competitor. She shouldn't be. Seems disappointed. And Daniel, you mentioned it. She has something to prove here.
Yeah, no question about it, right? It's essentially a statement. Like it's, poker's an individual game. You never really have to worry. Like, that we've always had this old adage, like don't tap the cage or don't tap the water tank or whatever. And you don't really let someone know that the worst player. But like in this format, you're essentially saying like, you are the person we least want on because essentially we think you will add the least amount to the team. That's going to sting. That's going to crush somebody. And one of two things will happen. Either A, they'll be like, screw you guys. That's going to motivate me to play better. Or some people crumble under that sort of pressure. Right. So I really liked Kaina's spirit, and I liked her fight to be like, no. I want to go second. She didn't just lay down to some alphas, if you will, in the room, just telling her what to do, essentially. Because you got Jungle and Yoh ViraL discussing what's happening. She's like, hey guys, I'm right fucking here. I know I was picked last, but this makes more sense. Why would you want to put your survival on me in the last spot when I'll be the most nervous? Like,
it wasn't clear to me. Was she supposed to go? We haven't seen Yoh lose yet, so we don't know. Is Kaina slotted in the second slot if Yoh loses?
I'm not sure who ended up with. I think so. I think she ends up third, but I think
she's third.
So for all the fight that she put up, she still didn't get what she wanted, in fairness.
Yeah. No, she didn't. She was in a tough spot there. Okay. Let's go through who we would have picked if we were team captains in order here. Terrence, why don't you go first?
Let's just do the first pick. Let's do your first pick. We'll see. We'll compare. Let's everybody do their first pick.
All right. I got Jungle.
I'm taking Jungle too. I think that one's pretty easy.
Yeah, I think Jungle's the one. I mean, especially in a heads-up format. The guy we're going to get this. Should we just tell it now? Because this is fucking hilarious. All right, I know I have it in the script later, but like, my man Robin doesn't know poker, obviously, because he's like, says to Nikita, who's, I'm sure, like, secret ninja heads-up, so she's like, yeah, I think she's favored over fucking Jungle.
Yeah,
like,
you got an edge on Jungle.
She's like, bro, man,
what?
Like, relax, So anyway, I think it was a nice way to pump up his partner. But I think, like, if you look down the list, I mean, who's more accomplished than Jungle? Heads up, No Limit Hold'em. He's just going to be the crusher for sure.
Yeah, and he's an alpha, but he's also might defer, right? Like he might not just say, I'm going first. He's going to try and reason it out, right? He's going to try and talk it through, and maybe there's some room there for you to move in if you're a captain.
I was honestly kind of surprised how much of a team player Jungle's been through all this.
Yeah,
except for the sweeping on Kaina, like
she's like, "Come on, team, let's this." And my favorite is her look at him like, "The fuck, man, this guy's just like nonstop sleeping."
Well, and he's going second. He's going second. He's fast. So we'll just quickly mention it. During these matches, we go to the sweat room, and he is fast asleep in the easy chair.
You would think you would want the information, right? Like if your teammate loses, you're gonna play this person next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Adam, start off the second round. Let's see. Who do you got for your second pick?
Okay, I went go ahead, T. Sorry, you go.
Yeah, I went the same. I mean, it's still Maria. I went the same pick that happened in real life. I got Maria in the 2 slot.
I got Andy. I got Andy Stacks here, heads up, and not a slight on Maria. It was a pick between Maria and Andy for me, but I think Andy deferred. If you watched him, and again, I'm going to pick this based on can I weasel myself into the advantageous position in our team, and I think Andy will. I could pick Andy and have him go behind me.
I'll tell you what I did. I went way off the board here. Okay, I went with somebody that was chosen second last because the guy's just a winner. And he finds a way to win. I went with Josh Arya.
Yeah.
Lots of experience. He can handle the pressure. He's like, there's very few people that kind of love that sort of pressure. Some people crumble. Some people rise to the occasion. Josh is a guy who, it doesn't matter what the game format is. He's got a lot of self-belief that he's lucky, and I believe him, and I trust in him, and I just feel like he's just always been a winner. And I probably, for me too, I have a good rapport with him. So that would maybe go into my thought process there. But I would go with Josh, which I know is, I guess a reach.
Oh, no, and also Josh is the same. Like he's not going to try and say I'm the best no limit player. I'm going to go first, right? He's going to be a team guy,
right?
Terrence,
in the 3 slot, I still went with what the group went with, and I had Andy in the 3 slot. But it's funny. I stole the first 3 picks, but I swear I wrote them down before it happened, and I have Andy in the 3 slot. I think his understanding of no limit, just the way he kind of talked in the back room. I was worried that he wasn't going to do well in a short stack format, but I feel like the way he played and the way he broke down hands, he understood what was going on there. You guys also mentioned maybe not the most dominant personality, won't fight to go first. I didn't have that in my analysis, but I just thought Andy was probably the best pick of the remaining.
Yeah, I'll go next.
Yeah,
I'll go next. Okay, so I went. I don't know if this is off the wall, but for me, the final heat had all the end bosses, and David Williams beat them all. Right, and what did he do in that heat? Showed no fear, had the guts to stick it in. Again, another veteran. He's been around a long time. A guy that again I have a good rapport with as well. And just feel like he's a reality. He's been on reality TV stuff before. The only concern now with David, thinking back, is he's going to be a guy that's going to push you to try to get up, in first or something like that. But in terms of just the way that I did it originally, who do I want? Who do I think is going to win? I picked David as my number 3.
As mentioned earlier, I picked Maria. Okay, round 4, Terrence, who do you got?
I got David in the next slot. I thought he was the best player remaining, and for all the reasons Daniel just mentioned, in a high pressure situation, he showed it. He's been in lots of high pressure situations. He understands no limit well. We thought that bluff with second pair was a little out there, but you'd rather have somebody who's on the margin of making a bluff that you maybe shouldn't make, as opposed to somebody who's a bit scared in that spot to pull the trigger and just concede the pot. I got David in number 4 slot.
I'll quickly go. I have Olga there. I think she played solid. And again, she's probably not going to be one that just says, I'm going to go first. Daniel, who do you got?
Maybe, yeah. So this is where I dropped her. I went with Maria here. Maria's solid. Again, I sort of went with a little bit of a veteran order, if you will. Josh is probably the oldest. David's the second oldest. And pardon me for saying so, but I think Maria's next. Because, you're not supposed to. But yeah, no, I would go with Maria. I think she's solid. She's played high stakes, doing commentary with high rollers. Having the insight, a lot of close friends who are super high stakes players in the German team. I think she's a really good pick. I wouldn't let her slide past there for sure.
Round 5, I got David for all those reasons. I would have picked him higher if he didn't just demand to go in the catbird seat everywhere, but because he is, as mentioned, an awesome player. Terrence, who do you got in round 5?
I got Josh, the last of the veterans, basically. If we're talking about Daniel's thing, Josh is the last veteran. He's mentioned it. He's not a no limit specialist. I feel bad putting him down the spot for all that he's accomplished in poker, but most of what he's accomplished in poker has been in different games. If this is PLO version Game of Gold, I think Josh is probably your number 1 pick here, or at least your number 2 pick. But in no limit, heads up, no limit, I've got to slide him down a little.
Yeah, I got Josh in round 6, and we don't know that these teams are. If you're the captain, you don't know.
Well, we didn't talk about Daniel's. Did Daniel get his out?
Right, round 5. Yeah, I just wanted to quickly.
I went pretty easy. In my 5th round pick, I went with Andy.
Oh
yeah. Okay. But as I was saying, like, I'm not sure that we know in the moment if this is, yes, we know that it's heads up format in this round. But
that's true. We didn't know that at the time. You're right. Yeah.
But we also don't know what happens in further rounds. Do the teams stay together? Are we playing limit poker later? Like Josh is an amazing player.
We're not playing limit poker. I wish, but like
format. I don't know. Maybe we're doing something else that isn't no limit hold'em. Is all I'm saying, and that's why Josh might be more valuable than maybe we think he is in heads up no limit, or at least perceived.
We're gonna play stud no qualifier, I'm sure.
Round 6, Adam.
Round 6. Sorry, I did have Josh. Terrence, who do you got in round 6?
So this was actually the toughest for me because I was between Olga and Kaina, and I'm going to talk for a little bit here because I think that from an experience level, I want to pick. I think Kaina's the safe pick. I think she's going to perform well. I'm a little scared. Like Olga, you see all the talent that she has, and you see that she has the instincts to make moves, and she's not scared. But I'm worried when everybody's watching you in the back room. How often do you get away with just 3-betting the old 8-4 and the Queen Dukes? Yeah. Like you can get away with that for a while when people think that you're this scared little girl. But I think as the show progresses, people are going to know this is what she does, and I think she's going to be put in some difficult positions, as we end up seeing in the cliffhanger episode. She's in an absolutely terrible spot. And so I think like Kaina's maybe a little bit more coachable. And we see that with Kaina later on in the episode. You know, she's quizzing Juggle Man, like, what would you do with this hand? You know, is this a call or is this a 3-bet? And she's wanting to learn. And I honestly didn't think she played poorly in the first round. Like I thought she was put in some really tough spots in the first round, and I thought that she was criticized more than she deserved to be. I have Kaina in the spot by just a hair, but if I had a team where I had a lot of veteran influence, for example, like say I had like Maria and David on my team, then maybe Olga would be my next pick because I think she is like an unpolished diamond, just needs to know the spots where she's going to make her move and not just be blasting all the time. And so, yeah, I'm giving away obviously my pick after that, but I would pick Kaina in this spot.
Yeah, you know, you bring up an interesting point too, just about live streams and how, let's say, for example, the main event, how it's affected it, right? You're a random, you know, woman no one's ever seen before, and people just assume you have the nuts every time, but then they get to see it a few hours later. It sort of affects, you know, your ability to do that, and that's the case with her. For me in this round, I went with a guy who probably has the most experience, I think, of the remaining players, even though he's young. A little bit of concern with Lucas Robin Poker was just his nerves, you know, a little bit nervous, but, you know, a guy who studies, you know, and again, the issue for me is outside of this format, I'd never seen anything from Olga or Kaina, right? I don't know. I mean, I saw Kaina with the King 9 hand. I didn't love that, of course. But other than that, I don't know anything about them really. And I do know a little bit more about Lucas in terms of his volume. So I felt like for me, the safe pick there would have been Lucas.
I've got Kaina in the 7th round, starting off the 7th round here. Yeah, I think to Terrence's point, you know, she's the mid-stakes poker player of the year. I mean, she's not, you know, probably got a little bit more gruff that she should have gotten for round 1. I think it's a pretty easy pick for me between the last two is Kaina and Robin. I think Robin's far and away the last pick for me, just because, you know, he seems out of his elements, hasn't played, doesn't have a lot of experience. He's up against guys that can play rings around him, I think. So, yeah, I went with Kaina. Terrence, who did you pick in the 7th round?
Yeah, well, I mentioned it already, but I've got Olga, and then that obviously leaves Robin Poker last. So similar things that you said. I think he really didn't have a great showing under the lights in round 1, unfortunately. Sorry, Robin, if you're out there. But yeah, I've got Olga here, and then Robin to bring it up the rear.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I got Olga in the. I loved the way she played the first round again, but like you said, I think part of the drawback is people seeing how aggressive she was. Maybe she could use that to advantage and flip it or whatever. And then, of course, I had Kaina last. Again, with Kaina, I thought she was even more nervous than Lucas. And I think like when you see the King 9 offhand, that is just it's such a like a brain fart, you know, the whole, you know, just to call the 3-bet and, you know, continue that way. So I felt like because
what Robin did with the pocket sixes in the first round.
You know, I did. That wasn't, I mean, not raising the river or peeling the flop, you know.
Both.
The solver might even peel the flop. Who knows? I'm not even sure about that. But anyway, I go with Kaina in the last spot here. I think, I don't know. With this one, it's a tough one because like, I don't know her that well. So I don't know. Is she someone that when picked last, is that going to light a fire, or is that going to break her down where she can't play and she can't think right because she feels, emotionally already beat? So for me, your average person in this spot, when they've sort of taken the emotional beat down here of being last picked, most people don't thrive under that position. So I would have picked her last.
All right, so we went through a little bit of the team drama. So Yoh ViraL picks Nikita's team to play against in round one, leaving the other teams to play against each other, obviously in the next episode. But and it's finally decided amongst Yoh ViraL teams that he's going to go first and play against Nikita in a battle of the team captain, so to speak, because Nikita, there's no drama in Nikita's room. She's just like, yep, I'm a heads up specialist. This is my thing.
I was going to say, like, if you wanted to be, like, if you were just going to be on a team and fuck EV, like, clearly you just want the good vibes of Nikita, Lucas, and Olga. Like, they're just so positive. Like, how would you not want to be on that team?
Yeah, exactly. Yoh ViraL wins. He beats Nikita, wins 30 coins, and it's then Robin Poker's turn to take on Yoh ViraL. Does not fare any better. Yoh ViraL banks another 30 coins, and that leaves the final match of this episode up to Olga, and she's got to run the table. She's got to beat all three of the team members, or else she's going to be in the elimination, or her team's going to be in the elimination bracket. And that's a good place to be. And Yoh ViraL here can pick up 90 coins if he wins this match. Fantastic. And yeah, we mentioned it earlier, but this is the great spot where Kaina's like asking questions to Terrence's point. She's got Jungle sitting right next to him, talking about heads up, no limit hold'em, trying to pick his brain, and he's just like, oh, like it's just there's some great memes out there. He's just like fast asleep. It's like, oh,
just
so
expect
good.
The unexpected when you're dealing with the jungle.
You do expect the unexpected.
I know, when you're dealing with the jungle, that's actually exactly how I would expect Jungle to react if I started asking him strategy questions about every hand, like do you 3-bet here? Like I admire Kaina. Like she's doing exactly what you should be when you have access to a great player, and that great player actually wants you to succeed. She's asking all the questions and learning, and you see her out with her notepad. Like I love Kaina's grown on me so much during the show, and it's unfortunate to see what's happened to her, but she's doing all the right things as far as
I think Kaina's been one of the stars, honestly. I think she's sort of like the breakout star of the episode of the whole show, where a lot of people can empathize, with the situation she's in. And I can also empathize here with Olga now, because again, she's a newcomer on the scene as well, and we do see some tears coming, in a preview of the future episodes. But like now, she's like on the hot seat, right? Like all the pressure on her to win 3 straight. She's like just frantically saying, she like literally asks Nikita, she's like, give me your jacket. And Nikita, team captain, says, all right, you want to wear my jacket? If you think it's lucky, let's go. And then you see in the matchup, we end the episode, of course, on a little bit of a cliffhanger, but you can see just on the few hands that they did show that, Olga's going in there. She's pedal to the metal type player, willing to put you in some weird, awkward, tough spots. And, she does that against Yoh ViraL in a couple spots.
But when you try to put people in awkward spots, sometimes they put you back in awkward spots.
Yeah. That's true.
Daniel, you had a moment to catch up with Yoh ViraL in our continuing series here of doing interviews with some of the contestants. Why don't we throw to that now?
All right, so we are joined now by Yoh ViraL, Johan. What do you prefer? What do you go by?
Yoh ViraL, with your American accent. I love it.
Love it. Okay, so first question I have, which seems to be the topic of conversation. You were the star of the first episode. You sat in the hot seat. One thing that keeps coming up, though, is why is your mouth always open? Yeah.
My main guess, I don't know exactly, but my main guess is because I started playing poker by watching Poker After Dark with Tom Dwan, you, and Antonius and Ivy. And I used to be watching especially Tom Dwan because he was bluffing a lot and I like to bluff. And then I don't know, it was mouth open. So I think it's imitation. I'm imitating him maybe unconsciously. So it has always been the case through the last 14 years that I play poker. However, I might change this because it tilts so much the people and I don't want to tilt the people actually.
It's funny you say that because I remember back in the day when Tom started playing on high stakes poker, right? A lot of people were fans of him. And what we saw in poker was a lot more people like betting slow and trying to like mimic him. And it's funny because now if you ask Tom, he's so annoyed that he did that because everybody plays so slow, right?
No, yeah, me too. And when someone plays slow at the table, I actually don't like it. I think it's not good for poker. And I think if I played slow many times in my past, I think it was a mistake, to be honest. And I thought at that moment that who cares? I need to take my decision. I need to take my time and everything. But if everybody does that, then there is no game. So then you start realizing, because I come more and more into private games, and I have my private game, which is streamed. So yeah, I definitely think it's not a good idea to play slow, and I definitely think it's a good idea also to not play in slow motion, because it increases the tilt for nothing.
Yeah. So it sounds like, you've got some balance here. I think a lot of young players who come in, they think it's just about EV, like in the direct situation, and only about me. But you're now, because you have a game and all this kind of stuff, you're thinking bigger. Now I want to get to the game itself, Game of Gold. You obviously came in into this round with the most coins, with 100. And the way the format works, you're teamed up now with, you chose Jungle. Well, first you picked Fedor, and you're like, no, I can't take Fedor.
Fuck. Still, I take Fedor. Can I take Fedor? I still take Fedor.
Nice compliment to him, but maybe Jungle's like, what the fuck? I'm better than Fedor.
I would have taken you. I would have taken you, though. Because you are the guy for that show. You must be very tilted to be eliminated. I can feel you. I can feel you.
No, we were very tilted to be. So then your third player you're left with, you don't choose, is Kaina, who's the last pick, which I think can create a dynamic, like emotional, that's different than regular poker, right? It's like being in high school and, on the schoolyard, and you're picked last, right? So right off the bat, they show your back room, okay? And you and Jungle and her kind of arguing about who to goes first. Like, what was your thought process in that moment? And because it seemed like Kaina wasn't happy. Like, what are you thinking about in terms of like how to strategically play this out?
So now that we played the first stage and everybody realized how much of a EV mistake they made by not playing the last sit and go, basically, because at the personal level, the gold coins were so important. And nobody fight for it. I actually didn't fight with Fedor. I didn't even try to play first place. Fedor say, you're going to play second place. I play in second place. That's it, Now I'm thinking, okay, now we are a bit closer to the end of the adventure, even if it's still far. But I need to think about my personal level a bit more. And I cannot do the same mistake as the first round, which is to not even try to go first. I didn't even try. So now I try to be the first to play, but I don't want to be rude to Jungleman, because he's also my friend outside of here. And I'm like, okay, Jungle, let's do 50-50. I play first today, you play first tomorrow. And I try to convince Kaina to accept the third place in both days, because I think that's going to be the best choice for Jungle and me at a personal level. Plus, it's going to be maybe the best choice at the team level, which we are not sure about that, because at the end of the day, I'm still not sure if it changes a lot if we play first or last. But I kind of feel if you play first, you're going to play more hands on the long run. So it's better that a better player play first. But yeah, so I try to convince Kaina, but she doesn't want to be convinced by that. And she's like, okay, now I'm going to play second. I'm going to play second both days. Which we end up saying, we end up finding a middle way where she basically plays third the first day and second the second day, and I played third the second day. So the best spot was for Jungle, because he had first and second. Yeah.
Right. So it's there, like, in terms of the rules, you're the captain, right? So the three of you are arguing over who picks. Like, in the end, what if all three of you don't agree? Like, is it just your say? Because a lot of people don't know the rules behind the scenes. Could you just pick the order if you wanted?
Not even us, actually. We didn't know what would happen if we don't agree. There was a timer. I think if we don't agree by the time, it would have been a flip, all flip, but I'm not sure about that, because the situation didn't happen for anyone. So we don't know. However, I really wanted that Kaina agrees on that, and that was my main goal. But then Jungle started to be really greedy. And that's where things went. Like, you can see in the teaser when he goes like, shut the fuck up. And we know each other quite good. We played a lot together, and he also played my game and stuff. He's just a guy that we love each other and everything. But at that moment, we could tell that the EV thing was bigger than our friendship, kind of. And he was like not caring at all about our friendship. He just wanted to play first and first because he's the best at the player, which is true. He's the best at the player, and there is no problem with that. But bro, I need also gold coins. So
yeah, so this seems to me like, okay, so this is a poker show, right? Where poker's the game you play, but there's more to it than that, right? There's, you know, people's skills and negotiation and these sort of things. Like somehow you found a way to get the juicy one spot by convincing Jungle, who backed down, and Kaina, who was putting up a big fight to go second, and you essentially got things exactly your way. So talk to me a little bit about how, you know, this isn't just poker, and, you know, you have to play people as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure I got them exactly my way, because I ended up being third on the second day, which is not a very good spot to be in, because the second day I would barely not play. I would literally not play most of the time. Like Jungle will be first, kind of second, so I would be like there for the last match and maybe not even there. So I don't know. The end of the negotiation was okay for me. I accept it, but it was not exactly what I wanted. Like the ideal spot is first, and I got like first and third. I think I'm okay. I'm decent. He could have argued and tried to get me out of the first place in both days and be like, I'm gonna play the first in both days because I'm the best player. He could have go for that, and I would have not let that happen for sure. But who knows? Like it would have been maybe a fucking flip and everything. And at some point I say, let's flip. You and me, you flip. I wanted Kaina to go third place, and Jungle and me, we both flip. He's like, what do you mean we flip? We're not gonna flip, you know? I'm the best player. He's not willing to flip. But there is gold coins involved, and I think everybody, like, Kaina would have been the person that could have argued. To be honest, she was pretty calm, and she could have argued that she wanted also a first place at some point because she wants more chance to get gold coins. But she was also fearing to get eliminated, which everybody was. But yeah, to be honest, I'm okay with the result. But because, okay, you can see in the episode that I win my first two matches. So for sure, I make gold coins, and you can see the face of Jungle tilting. Like, why should it tilt? Of course, now I'm making gold coins for myself. However, we are close to not be eliminated for sure, and that's super important also. But he seems to not care, and yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the poker a little bit, because I'll tell you what, I've been playing maybe for the last like over 20 years. I've found that playing against like French people, they're the most creative and artistic in the way they play. And like, aside from, you know, your min bet stuff, like a good example of that was the hand where you check call with King 5 on King Jack Deuce, and then the 5 hits the turn and you lead. Like, is this a French thing, or am I crazy? Is my read off?
No, I love when you say that, because the first time I hear you saying that was in the WSOP final table Europe when I finished second. And I watched the replay. That was a huge stage, by the way. Like, you guys made a super good job. Like the stage was amazing. Like you guys did an amazing job. And I watched, and you were saying that I'm creative, I'm an artist. And the problem with that is, it's kind of true. I am like that. I don't think the French people in general are like that. I'm not sure about that. I would say a bit more than other countries, but not me. I have this thing in me where I want to make too much moves that are like that people will remember, and that cost me a lot of money in my life, to be honest. Like I made like those huge mistakes that other pros told me, like, bro, like, what did you do on stream there? And it's not even because it's on stream, it's because it's me playing. And when I play, I like to make something that people will remember, that other players, that other viewers will remember, even if it's not a good play. The King 5, I think it was okay. I think I have to pair. I want to build the pot. I don't know if she's very aggressive or no. I think maybe she will check back. I should have done that against Maria also. Maybe she checked back ace king, and I was trapping with aces, you know, in an unconventional end.
See, this is what I'm talking about. What kind of French crazy shit was that? You're like 10 blinds deep. She checked, she leads, and you just don't raise with the aces. Like, why? Like, that seems overly creative to me. What was your thought process?
Do you think Daniel, do you think it's crazier to limp with ace king 10 bigs heads up or to check with aces 10 big? Do you think both are equally crazy?
The limp is pretty standard, actually. I mean, sometimes, obviously, like, because you have to protect your limping range in these spots.
What should I do? Should I raise? I'm not familiar with 10 big blind. Should I raise 3 big blind?
I think you maybe like can just jam or do like 2.5 or something.
If she has bullshit, she folds if I jam. So I'm like, if I raise 3 big blind, it's obvious that I have a hand because I have only 10 bigs. And if I jam, if she has bullshit, I just lose her. So I was like, for me, it's a check. I'm like, what should I do? Like, if she has like whatever bullshit she limp, like she wants to see a flop, and me, I raise, it looks so suspicious. I have 10 big blinds. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna check. But then the thing is like, I could have extract value on the river because at some point on the turn, because I lead the flop. Okay, why not? She calls. Then I check the turn. She bet, I call, and then check. I'm not happy with the result, of course. I could have maybe second barrel on the turn, or maybe just bet the river and to not get a check back from like king 10, king 9, or whatever draw she on the flop, and she got a king on the turn. I don't know.
Yeah, we had Maria on the show as well to talk about that hand a little bit.
I listened to it.
Yeah, Charlie said either she's soul read him or that was awful, right?
She said it's a bit of both. She said she was quite convinced that something was going on. Probably she has really good read on people. That's my guess. She's also a good player, but she had some sensation that I was overly strong in that spot, for sure. For her to check ace king is for sure the case, because against you, she value bet ace jack, which was middle pair, right? Mm-hmm. And you had a queen. Play in a nice way. I really liked how you played it, because we can't tell that you have a queen. And then she ended up value betting so big for her hand. So I thought she would value bet against me also, but she read me because I have probably more tells than you in those situations, and that's pretty sure. When I watch me on stream, I can tell that I have like a lot of facial thing going on and stuff. So yeah, that's also why maybe sometimes I'm opening the mouse. I'm like thinking, okay, those people try to read me every time. They look at me. They get some reads. They check some hands that I don't understand what they check and stuff. So maybe I fear a bit that people over read me when they play against me. So that's why I'm protecting myself by doing those things, which are not really good overall. But yeah, it's a bit the reason why.
So you said something there I think is interesting for people to learn how to play poker, really. Is like, I don't know how much experience you had against Maria, but it sounds to me like the hand you watched, because you were paying attention against me, led you to believe that in this same spot against you, she's going to value bet. Did that affect your decision-making at all based, because it sounds like it did, watching the hand she played against me?
Yeah, it did. I even said it in the, not in the confessional, but in the room with my team. I said, I saw her against Daniel value betting ace-jack very thinly. I'm checking because I'm repping some crappy queen that bet the flop or something, And
right. So like you always seem like a guy you're having fun, like in the back room, you're calling his team broccoli, all this kind of stuff. Like, what are your general thoughts on being a part of the show, and did you enjoy the experience?
Yeah. And I really feel you. You know why I feel you? I keep hearing you saying that this show is the best thing you did and stuff, and it's really, really, really the case. And I feel you because I did many years ago. It was 8 years ago, a show with Elki, actually. It was another room, and it was also a TV show about poker. And I was a candidate in 2014. That was 10 years ago, actually. And crazy enough, I got eliminated exactly like you on the first stage of the show, which was after 3 days. And the people stayed up to 1 month in the house. And everybody was in the same house, filmed 16 hours out of 24 and playing their destiny on a poker table. And this show, I got eliminated very quick. And that was a big, big regret of my life in poker, at least. And I really wanted to enjoy the maximum of second of this new show, because that was since 2014, my only chance to play another poker show. I was so disappointed. I remember that time, because my bankroll also at that time was probably 5 or 10k euro in total. That was my net worth. So I was playing for 10x. It was a 100k contract with a room. And I was like, this was so important for me. We were also 16 candidates, and I was so disappointed. I remember I cried. I cried in that show 10 years ago. And I was, I thought this time I wanted to enjoy the maximum. I wanted to be there, present, and to be living it, to live the moment and not thinking too much about the future, and just be present with the friends and have fun. So that's why.
Yeah. So speaking of crying, from some of the clips, because I was gone, so I'm watching this just like every other fan. Seems like in the clips there's drama ahead. We see some tears. We see some stuff with you in Jungle. Is it real? I mean, is that your all that stuff? Was that just authentic, or are you guys playing it up for the cameras?
It's totally authentic. It's you can tell in the face when you see the face of Jungle. Like you can tell he's not acting. Like you can tell in my face also. I'm bothered by him saying bad words like this. It's authentic because we are playing for real money at the end of the day, but we are also playing in front of the camera in a way that we are not used to. And probably that makes people think what the public will think about us if we are like acting like a fish, or if we are like giving up EV or whatever. Like probably he thinks like that. I think like that. Everybody is like semi-paranoiac, and we become more harsh on each other a bit. I saw the teaser where Olga cry.
Like you're saying, I think like when you take their phones away, put them all in a room for long extended periods of time, and cameras on all the time, I think people start to forget that the cameras are there. Did you feel that way, or or were you always conscious of I might come off as an asshole?
No, totally. No, yeah, we forget about that, but we kind of know. We still kind of know it. But yeah, when I was in that room, I was eating like I was at home. I was on the sofa like I was at home, because you can't see properly the cameras, because there is no like people in front of you with the camera. There are just like cameras in the room, in the ceiling and stuff. You don't focus too much on that. However, there is still the moment where you are like, okay, now I need to take a decision. Everybody will judge me about that decision. Also, it's not only a play decision, a poker play decision that we are used to take every day when we play poker. It's a decision about a strategic decision that can decide my future in the show. At that moment, we also don't know that maybe we think that we can be eliminated somehow without even playing poker. We think at some point someone can be eliminated just by making a strategical mistake without even playing poker. So we kind of fear what can happen in that show. Like it's really like we don't know what will happen, and we still don't know for the next episodes. I don't want to spoil anything. It's just like we don't know. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks. What we do know is we know you crushed the first match. We know you crushed the second match, and we leave it on a cliffhanger against Olga as you look for the sweep. I'm looking forward to watching the rest of the episodes. Thanks a lot for joining us, and maybe we'll catch up if you end up, the last man standing.
Sure, bro. Anytime you want me in the podcast. The podcast is great. I listened to all the episodes so far.
Excellent. I appreciate it, man. Have a good night. Thanks for joining. All right.
You too, guys.
All right. Thanks to Yoh ViraL for joining Daniel to break down some of the different aspects of the game. And once again, you guys mentioned it, they leave us with a cliffhanger in a crazy spot where Olga 3-bets with middle pair no kicker, and Yoh ViraL shoves with a flush draw. Can she make the call? I guess we'll find out on Wednesday. This is another good cliffhanger here. Thanks to everybody out there for joining us. Thanks to you guys for getting together. Thanks to Yoh ViraL again for breaking down some stuff. And we will see you on Wednesday.